All right. Whoa. Hang on a second. Let's try that again. Hey, how are you? Monday morning. Yeah, there's an echo there. Let's get rid of that. There we go. All right. Monday morning. How are you? Welcome um, to whatever this is. And it's me talking basically and giving you guys little updates on what's happening so far. Um, I will tell you this. No big news to announce right now because technically I'm still employed by iHeart. So there's no news. But I will tell you this. I've talked to 3 different radio station people. Gonna talk to another one today, and, there is interest. I have 1 solid proposal being given to me. I'll go ahead and tell you it is not an optimal proposal in my opinion. Nice guy, pursuing very, very heavily, wants to start in very, very, very soon, which I don't know that I'll legally be allowed to do. But also it is interesting to see when you start talking numbers and you start crunching things and you start going, how much do you guys think I made? Because some of the offers have been a little low. So the one offer has been a little low. But we'll, again, that's why I'm still thinking that owning this baby is probably the best thing. And I would still like it to be on a radio station, but I don't think it's going to originate there. At 7 a.m., do you know where your former radio host is? Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, he's right here in home base, his big studio. Welcome, number 33. Gary Cross checking in with us this morning. How are you, sir? My parents said they just had some fine work done by your wonderful establishment, Cross Plumbing, and they were very, very happy. So that's good. When you make my parents happy, you make me happy. And so I'm excited about that. But anyway, interesting weekend. Again, a lot of things just are kind of up in the air. That's one of the things that's interesting to me is like I work and I work a lot and I tend to work and I tend to always be doing something. And with this, it has been very different, much slower. But still things are coming in. This weekend, I probably needed this weekend because once word got out Thursday morning that there was no more program and no more me, the stream has been ridiculous as far as the number of people that have come to me wanting to offer ideas, advice. One thing you do learn is a lot of people who aren't in radio don't quite understand radio. But on the one hand, you go, oh, golly, no, that's bad. That's not a good idea. Thank you, though. But on the other hand, what you do is sometimes people who don't know it, don't understand it, are the ones who think outside the box because they don't. And sometimes they get some of the better ideas because they don't really know the rules and the things you're supposed to do and that kind of thing. So, I bring them on, bring all the thoughts, bring all the suggestions on. I will tell you, a lot of people have been suggesting buy a radio station. Just go buy a radio station. Just go buy a radio. Like you go to Walmart and you buy a radio station. It's a lot more complicated than that. And also in this day and age, it's really expensive. My opinion, having crunched numbers in the past and again recently, is that one radio station just can't work in this day. Sadly, one radio, you have to have a couple, 3, 4 in order for it to really be able to work out for you. And even then sometimes doesn't so much. So we'll get to it over time. Bobby Scott needs a number, doesn't call in but listens all the time. Bob, you know what? We'll see if we can't do that for you. We'll get you a number. I don't have my spreadsheet. You know what? I'll pull my spreadsheet up right now. I'm going to do it as we speak. I'm going to assign you a number, even though this was not my purpose this morning. I'm going to assign you a number. And again, I can't really do much of a show. Okay, Bobby Scott, you are now 135 because that is the next number in line on the South Georgia 40. You have now become a member. And by the way, congratulations, number 135. Randy Jackson also needs a number. All right, Randy, let's give it your 136. There you go. So we're just assigning numbers. And don't forget, Rob Moore has done a really nice thing, and he started a South Georgia 40 group. And because of that, he's he's got this thing going, and I suggest join it. Just look for South Georgia 40. You should find it. And everybody, is kind of convening there, and it's very nice. Henry Ball, if you want a number, Henry Ball, by golly, I would give you 2 numbers, for crying out loud, for as great as you are and have been. Let me see. I'm going to give you 137, Henry Ball, right here. And Henry Ball has 100% certified called the program on a number of occasions, as you know. Oh, no, everybody's asking for numbers now. Christy, okay, you're 138. Good grief. Am I violating rules here? Because I know that was originally supposed to only be callers who got these numbers, but what the heck? I mean, they're my numbers, for crying out loud. I can give them away. Doesn't matter. Rob says you can now remote live from Walt Disney World. I have done that before. I've told this story a couple of times before, but indulge me. I'll do it again. Rob Hicks. And Rob, you may not know the story, but in 2024, we were doing our every other year 9-day trip to Walt Disney World. Now, we're not doing it this year, and it's not because of this. And Mrs. Rifen has been very astute about cutting back because, we don't know what headwinds we're facing, and we just want to be prepared. But I'll be honest with you. I'm really at peace with what's going on. I feel, because there's been so much love and support given by the community, by people in the community, by people who can afford to make this work. I don't feel in any way lost, adrift, worried, panicked. I feel like this may be a good thing. And again, it's going to be a situation where I get to own it. Now, and again, what I want to do, and I'll tell you the story in a sec, Rob. What I want to do is, and this is, again, I'm open to other ideas, and I'm talking to other people about other ideas. But my idea from the start has kind of been, I own this. I create it here. I put it out there on the web. I put it out there in podcast form. I put it out there on YouTube. And if a radio station wants it, I will send it to them live for a licensing fee, which is cheaper than employing somebody. They would still get the benefit of the show, get to sell the show. I would get to sell my part of the show. And, they could pay me a little something for the show, and I would still own the show and make the show the way I want to make it, et cetera. And if they got sick of it at some point, they can give me notice and get rid of it. And, if it doesn't work out for them, that's fine. So, that's kind of where I am with this. And I feel like it's a really good model. Especially with the amount of support that has been pledged. When will we be able to do it? I don't know. But anyway, 2024, we were staying at Bay Lake Tower at the Contemporary Resort. Contemporary is my favorite resort, by the way. Just because when I was 4 years old, I was a little science fiction nut kid. I'm a science fiction nut adult. And when I was 4 years old, we first went. It was December of 74. And we park at the Ticket and Transportation Center, and we get on a giant space train. It was the monorail. To me, it looked like it looked like Arc 2 or anything else that was on TV, something from Logan's Run or something at the time. And we get in that giant space train, which freaked me out then as a 4-year-old. I just thought, this is amazing. I'm in the middle of a science fiction show. And we start riding in this giant space train, and I look ahead, and we're going into a building. We're going into a building. And that was just like that. The top of my skull just about blew off at that point. And then we went into the building, and I look around, and we're riding through the Grand Canyon Concourse, and it just was amazing. Just my brain is just on fire. And I turned to my dad and I said, what is this building? And my dad said, it's a hotel. And I said, why aren't we staying here? Because again, we were staying down there, but I think we were at Days Lodge or something, because that's what we could afford. And my dad said, we're not staying here. We can't afford it. And that always stuck in my mind. And so, when I was 35, I finally got to book and spend a few nights in the tower at the Contemporary. And that meant a lot to me, because that was the thing we couldn't afford when I was a kid. And it was every bit as terrific as I'd hoped it would be. I loved it. But anyway, so 2024, we're at the Contemporary at Bay Lake Tower. We're actually at Steakhouse 71, which is the terrific restaurant in the Contemporary. And we were with Chuck and Janice Jones. Chuck and Janice Jones are great people. Got to know them through the radio station. They're wonderful listeners. They eventually moved off of St. Simon's. And Chuck writes, and Janice, great lady. They moved off of St. Simon's, moved to the Villages, Florida's friendliest hometown. And we met them for dinner at Steakhouse 71, and we're sitting there. And I think Noah Ring is the person who texted me and said, because, the joke was always, if I go to town, all hell breaks loose. And it's been kind of a running thing on the program for many, many years. When I leave town, all hell breaks loose. So I get a text from Noah Ring that says, as we're sitting at dinner, just having a great time, text from Noah Ring says, you leave town and Trump gets shot. And I thought, that can't be that bad, can it? Trump gets shot. And I start pulling up the news on my phone. And I was like, hey, guys, hang on a second. And yeah, Trump had been shot. And so at that point, this is Saturday night. Sunday, I have all day to think about this. What are we going to do? Because I'm on vacation, for crying out loud. But what I did was I logged into the computer system and I changed everything so that for a couple of hours, I think I went on from 7 to 9. If I'm wrong about that, correct me. But I changed it so that the 7 to 9 hours basically were not the pre-recorded stuff that we had already scheduled, but rather I switched it back so that it would run live. And then I logged in from our hotel room at Bay Lake Tower and went live with that. And the reason I did was because I knew something like that happened. It was going to be a big, big, big deal to you guys, the listeners. And I knew that we were going to have to talk about it. And you guys were going to want to talk about it. You were outraged. You were upset. This is world shattering. What's funny now is that it literally, because everything wound up being okay, the left, the Democrats in this country have decided that it was all a conspiracy and it was fake, which is insane to me. But anyway, we went live from the hotel room at Walt Disney World. So that was fun. It was a neat thing to do. Not the way I would want to do it, but we did do it. And so, yes, I could do it, have done it. We'll do it again if I need to. No doubt. Chuck wants to skip ahead to 163. No, you got to give me a reason for that. I don't know about that one. Yeah, a lot of folks. Skip, how are you? It's good to see Skip. How's the new place, Skip? Let's see. Do you happen to know Scott James? He owns a station near Valdosta. Great guy. You two may be able to put your radio savvy together and make something happen. Again, I think it's a thing where if I do the show from here and people want it, we can get it to you for a fee. And that's kind of where I'm leaning with this whole thing. And we'll see how it works ultimately over the long haul. I don't know. I will tell you this. I hope you guys have a terrific week this week. I'm going to keep trying to check in every morning at 7:00, just for one, to remind you that I didn't go anywhere. And two, to keep me going in something of a routine, something of a pattern, because I think it's best for everybody. And I know a lot of people send me notes. I missed hearing you this morning. And I'm already thinking about things we can do for the program that are going to be different once I do a thing where I take ownership of this thing. One of them is I would like to have Pam Sherling on every week. She has published The Islander starting with her mom, at least. But they've published for, good grief, 54 years. And this week is the first week that The Islander is no longer in print. Did you realize that? They went all digital, and it's at theislanderonline.com. They are no longer. Can we call in? Alan, what do you mean, can we call in? You will be able to call in the future. Right now, no. There's not a way to call in yet. But there will be. That's one of the great things about this has been the number of people who have stepped up and tried to get involved and tried to help out, as I've mentioned before. And again, some of it is not in the direction I want to go. Some of it is in the direction I want to go. All of it is appreciated. But I've had people over the weekend building an app to help us handle our call-ins. I didn't ask for that. They did it. And I thought that was terrific. So and it's appreciated, and we'll see where it goes from there. Can you call in today? No, can't call in today. But when we get settled on what we're settled on, yeah, we'll be able to do that. 96.9 SS. Wow, you don't see, that's interesting, Brad, because that's not the frequency. And that's what's interesting for a couple of reasons. One is that it's interesting to see what people learn and know and retain and that kind of thing. But I don't know. I mean, that's not outside the realm of possibility. But again, what I would like to do is, and I think it would be beneficial to radio station owners, because they wouldn't actually have to pay for an employee, because I'm not going to be an employee. I would just be someone that they lease a show from. And so it would be a lot cheaper for them than to hire somebody to do a morning show for them. And it would allow us to be able to do something in Brunswick and do something in Savannah, because we've still got our Savannah contingent. American Savannah contingent's there this morning. And the other thing that it will do, start another radio station. Oh, there you go. FCC license. Yay. Attorney's fees. Build a tower. Transmitter. Antenna. Make sure those lights are going. Do your regular checks on your, again, that's the problem with getting a radio station, which a lot of people suggest. And again, I've had somebody, a very, very prominent and well-known local banker, came to me last week and said, you get 10%, we'll finance the 90%. Just go find the 10, and you can find the 10%. And I probably could. The problem with that is buying the station. And then from there, the cost is operating the station. And it's not cheap. And it's really not reasonably done well in a one station situation anymore. Sadly, the money's just not there to do that. So anyway, that having been said, but no. Yeah, Kelly, yes, but no. I'll just say that. Trust me, it's not a good fit. But anyway, so we're working on it. We're working on things. We've got stuff happening. We've got conversations happening. I'm making plans. But again, a lot of it depends on what my final paperwork for iHeart says and whether or not I agree to it and sign it. And that hasn't happened yet. And the sad thing is, they informed me last Wednesday. They were prepared to do this apparently Tuesday, but couldn't get me. And here it is the next Monday, and they still haven't presented me with anything, which is disheartening, because I feel like that's being deliberate. I think that's foot dragging, because I think there are a lot of people in this business, unfortunately, who are kind of paycheck to paycheck people, and they will readily accept bad terms just to get that check that's being dangled in front of them as a severance. Fortunately, I am not in that position, and don't want to be in that position, and can wait this out and have a back and forth. So we'll see what happens from there. But yeah, everything kind of depends on that. I'm disappointed a little bit, because this is the week. Go acting a new Star Wars movie instead. I'm disappointed this week because it's the 4th of July. It's the 250th. We were gearing up to that. I was going to play a thing on the morning of the 3rd for the program, and now I can't. And I'm going to go ahead and do a test really quickly, because I think I can do it here. But let's make sure. And that's what I want to play. Let's see if it works. Let's see. Bluetooth. Yeah. This stuff works. The setup here at home base is almost perfect. I've got it going really well. I will tell you a story about that at some point.
On his way to be inaugurated in 1861, Abraham Lincoln stopped by Independence Hall in Philadelphia and said, I have never had a feeling politically that did not spring from the sentiments embodied in the Declaration of Independence. I have often pondered over the dangers which were incurred by the men who framed and adopted the Declaration, pondered over the toils that were endured by the officers and men of the Army who achieved that independence. I have often inquired of myself, what great principle or idea was it that kept this Confederacy so long together?
That's got to punch through
My
a little
name
bit.
does not matter.
There you go.
These are not my hands. These were our hands. This is not my musket. It was our musket. At Concord, Bunker Hill, at Long Island.
Hopefully you recognize that voice. That is the voice of Ronald Reagan, narrating the story of the American Revolution. And that's what I wanted to do for you on the Friday before. Johnny Wynn Sr. with the AC Guys and the new coming Better Than a Rock Laundromat. Is that the one out here at Exit 29? I will tell you, Mrs. Rifen is really, really excited for that to open. Mostly because we have Ruggables in the house. I'm going to go ahead and put myself out there. Like I haven't been doing that for 30 years. We have our living room rug is glorious. It is a grand and glorious Ruggable that is a hidden Star Wars pattern. In other words, when you show up at my house, you're going to think that there's just some little floral pattern on the floor, when in fact it is Darth Vader, Stormtrooper, Boba Fett, all this stuff in a kind of a woven looking pattern. And she does things like that for me because she is amazing and she's awesome. And, there is nobody else that was made on this planet that I should be paired with. I mean, we are a ridiculously good pair. And one of the things is she knows when to indulge me and how to indulge me. And she allowed me to get the Ruggables for the living room. And it's a gorgeous rug. And it's just, again, it's hidden Star Wars characters. And it's really big. The thing about the Ruggables, if you know about the Ruggables, you've seen them on the internet and everything. One of the amazing things about a Ruggable is you can literally pull them up off the floor and throw them in the because they're kind of thin with a base to them, like a Velcro base. So you can pull up the cover of them and you can put them in the washing machine. And the problem is the living room rug is so big, Mrs. Rifen doesn't like to put it in our washing machine because she doesn't feel like it does, the washing machine does a good enough job on it. So she's been waiting for that laundromat to open so that she can take our big living room Ruggable down there and have it washed. So I didn't realize that was yours, Johnny. That's very cool. And of course, you should appreciate that, having Star Wars'd up your booth at the chili cook-off. Oh, let's see. What do we got? Paul. Okay, Paul. Yeah. And let me just say, Paul, you're there every day. And you let me know you're there every day. So, yeah, I think you do deserve a number here. So, Paul McClellan, you are number 139. I know there are going to be some purists out there who are going to be very upset that I'm breaking the code of the South Georgia 40, which is they should all be callers. But at this point, I think, it's good to recognize people that have been there and supported us for so very, very long. And I do appreciate it. The number of people we have watching is pretty ridiculous too. And it's great. I appreciate your being there. And again, I hope you're there again once it comes time for us to do a regular, real, honest to goodness program, which we will do soon. I don't know when yet. I don't know the details of it yet. Again, I've got a lot of things kind of sitting at the gate, ready to go, but I need to find out what the terms of my release are still. See, the problem is iHeart let me know how wonderfully pleased they were with my employment by renewing my contract for 5 years last year. And so, we've got 4 years worth of contract left to discuss. I have a feeling what they're going to try to do is, I've got a feeling what they're going to try to do is give me a very small amount of severance and a very large window to not do anything, to sit on the beach, because that's what they do to a lot of people. that's not what I'm here to do. That's not what I'm about. And so we're going to have a conversation, obviously. And again, I think a lot of it is, and I think that's a lot of the reason why they're being so slow in getting me my paperwork, is because I think they think that they'll get you into a desperate situation, and I'll take whatever I can get because it's going to get me by, and I'll figure it out in 3 months what I'm going to do after that. But the reality is, there's a couple of realities here. I'll even throw this out there just for the heck of it. About 55% of my income was salary. The rest of it was bonuses, because I got ratings bonuses and I got earning bonuses and endorsement fees and commission from sales that I made. And so, even if they said, hey, we're going to give you 3 months of salary, that's really only like a month and a half. And then you want me to sit out for 6 months? That's just not going to work. It's not going to happen. It's not worth it to me. So yeah, we're going to have a conversation about all of this. But they haven't started the conversation yet. And that's what they've told me. I have to sit back and wait for them to start the conversation. So we'll see what happens from there. But in the long run, we will get something going. Something will happen. And we'll check it out from there. Charlie is absolutely right. Subscribe to my YouTube page. Please like it and subscribe. You'll get notifications. Or you can turn on the notifications. You don't have to turn on the notifications, but when I go live, you'll do that. But yeah, for working the algorithms purposes, yes, like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's amazing. I think I had maybe 9 or 10 people subscribe to my YouTube channel when this started, and I've got over 400 now. But we need more. We do. And again, in order to make this thing really work well, more subscribers is vital. And Facebook's great, and it's going to be on Facebook, and it's going to be free on Facebook. You'll be able to hit it, no problem. But it's better to have the subscription on YouTube. That is correct. Thank you for that, Charlie. I appreciate that. And Charlie's got experience. Charlie knows what he's talking about. Can I take super chats? I think over time, probably. Again, none of this right now, because I can't really do anything right now. But yeah, over time, I think I would like to do something like that. I think that would be fun to play. And I'll tell you this too. And Mrs. Reifman was getting on to me this morning because I was talking about the fact that I'm going to have this YouTube channel for sure. And we do the show. Somebody sent me a note the other day, said I'd love for you to do an evening show once a week. Local events and that kind of thing. And I said, yeah, that's a possibility. And that may be something we do for a subscriber basis or something. But then I started thinking, there are a bunch of different little podcast ideas that I have that would be good. And again, something you put behind a paywall that you earn more with. And I started thinking about, I've got friends who've been displaced who could do really good talk radio. And why not make it so that they can be on this channel as well? So, we may build a radio station on YouTube, basically. Again, I this is all spitballing. It's all preliminary. It's all, I start thinking and dreaming and things start getting bigger and bigger, and we'll see what we can actually rustle in and rope in. But in the meantime, just know that there's a holding pattern. Things are going well. I was actually going to do a little commentary this morning because I haven't done any commentary, and I haven't done that yet. Hang on a second. I got a couple of questions coming in here. What about G-Man? Will he be jumping on? It's interesting because they let all the full-time programming people go, but they didn't let the part-timers go. And he's really kind of twisted up in knots because part of it is he feels the responsibility to do the news because that's his job. And he's been given zero direction whatsoever. And in fact, the day after I was let go, he tried to go down to the station and do the news because he doesn't have access to the system. So what used to happen is he would send it to me and then I would put it in the system. But he still has access to the building. He's still employed by the station. 10 hours a week. He's got a full-time job. He's got a real job that pays him real money, but he enjoys doing this, keeping his toes in the broadcast thing. And he tried to go down there and they had removed the news from the AM the local news, they were moved. Jeez. In yet another stunningly great move. And so, and he doesn't have access to the FM system. So he didn't know what they were putting on there. So he was kind of unable to do anything there, sadly. So he's still employed by them. But I was thinking about it this morning. I would love to be able to take little news breaks, do local news like we've always done, and have him do it. And, I'd have to pay him to do it, which means, again, we got to have sponsors and we got to make some money doing this. But I'd like to do that. I'd like to do that. Will I post the YouTube link here? I will try to get to that. I think it's just youtube.com/Scott Rifen. Why I didn't do it as just Rifen, I don't know. But there is somebody who now has /Rifen, and it's some like Japanese lady. So don't do /Rifen. But I think it's just youtube.com/Rifen. Scott Rifen, sorry. It may be at Scott Rifen instead of /Rifen. Let's see. Eddie, corporate world sucks, doesn't it? You're nothing but a number. Powers that be don't give two craps about their employee. The funny thing is they always told us they did. And, the reality was every time I did this, I was always very realistic about the way in which things were structured. And I guess maybe that's why I'm not just like devastated and have no plans and that kind of thing, because I just was always very real with myself. I skipped a lot of holidays. I worked a lot of holidays. I skipped a lot of vacation. And when I did, every time I did, I would say to myself, make sure you really want to do, because I would do that for you guys. I would do that because I wanted to show you I was there supporting you. I did that because I wanted you to know that I was going to be there for you regardless, hell or high water. So like last year, I didn't take a vacation day till December. And I had 4 vacation weeks that I was owed. And I think ultimately I took 6 or 7 of those days. And I got 4 weeks a year. I would get a personal floating holiday every year. I'd never used it. I worked most of the holidays we had on the calendar. And again, I didn't do that to give back to the company. I did that to give back to the audience. And every time I did that, every time I worked a holiday or skipped vacation, I would always say to myself, one day they're just going to be done with you and they're not going to care about all those things that you did. They're not going to care about all those sacrifices. And I would say this to myself. They're not going to care about those sacrifices. They're not going to care about all those added hours. They're not going to care about those days off that you didn't take. They're just going to move on. And so, I was always kind of just ready for that. I always knew that was the mindset. And so, when it came down the way it did, it wasn't something that like devastated me or shook me to the core, because I knew what type of an organization I was dealing with. And that is a very, it's a very cold and calculating organization that has some wonderful people in it. But some of the decisions being made and some of the people making those decisions are not people that I think should be making some of these decisions, frankly. But yeah, I was always kind of aware that was going to be a thing. And I was always kind of aware that one day they would just be done. And so, I wasn't shocked or disillusioned by anything because I didn't really have any illusions to start with. How's that? If you do a sportscast, I would like to be included. I have an overwhelming knowledge on sports, and that's good. But can you be entertaining? That's one thing that a lot of people, and I'm not saying you can't, because I don't know. You might be able to be. I will tell you that there's knowing sports and then there's being entertaining. And they are two very different things, but you have to have both to do a good sports talk show, do any good talk show. Really, the biggest thing is the entertainment value and not the information value. With like the political talk and the news talk that we do, I mean, yes, you have to know a lot of things. You have to have a lot of knowledge and information at your fingertips. But at the end of the day, you also have to be somebody that people want to listen to, and you have to be somebody people want to watch. And again, I don't know if you have those skill sets or not. Certainly, we can have a conversation about it if that's something that happens over time. The next John Boy, G-Man and me being the next John Boy and Billy Big Show. I don't think so, but I will tell you, I would love to do a podcast with him. When we go to games, the football games on the road, and we're just traveling. We go to like Augusta, and it's 3.5 hours, whatever it takes. We have some of the most interesting conversations, and there's a real back and forth and a real exchange of ideas. And it really is, I think, interesting stuff. And it's also very generational, So yeah, I don't know about John Boy and Billy, but I would love to do a podcast with him. I've kind of suggested it a few times over the years, and he's kind of walked away from it because, well, I don't know what his reasoning is, but I think he just doesn't. I think a lot of it is he doesn't. I know he admires me, because he, in a moment of rage one time, he told me he did. And, but I think he probably also just doesn't want to sit and hang out in my shadow, which I totally get. So anyway, we'll see. Holy Ghost Trucker says, good morning. Good morning, Holy Ghost Trucker. Kelly's put up a link that says it's a subscribe link. That's good. Very glad to see that. Thank you. Yeah, I know. And you get those emails about, oh, we're wonderful. But then at the same time, they, one of the things that will not make me unhappy is that all of the just left-wing gobbledygook that we would get in emails from the company, because they would carry that flag to the hilt, and it just drove me nuts sometimes. And the good news, too, is we also won't have to hear 87,000 commercials for Bo and Yang's podcast that was the thing that drove me nuts, is they literally would go like, news talk, that's talk. Podcast, that's talk. So let's advertise all of our podcasts on the news talk station. And there's some podcasts that appeal to news talk people, and there's some podcasts that do not. Bo and Yang being very flamboyant about the Olympics, not a thing that our audience cares about, but yet they leverage that to the hilt. So yeah, we won't have to listen to that for a long time, and that's good. That's good. Let's see. The app will allow advertisement. Well, yeah, that's good. That's good. I appreciate that. He's working hard he's been working hard all weekend on that app. I will mortgage my house to keep you on you do not have to. That's the thing, is I don't think anybody's going to really be out any. I have kind of put together, on not official paper, but on paper, an advertising plan for doing this online that people that I've talked to have said, that seems reasonable. That seems good. I don't think this is going to break anybody's bank. And yet we're going to be okay if we do it the way I think we should do it. So I think you won't have to mortgage your house. You'll be okay. Oh, there's Gene. There's the channel, YouTube so it's at Scott Rifen. It's not just YouTube /Scott Rifen. Okay. Good to know. Good to know. Let's see. No matter how much one knows that it will happen one day, it's still a gut punch when it happens. I mean, it's not pleasant. It's not pleasant to go through, just kind of recapping and going through all of that again. I guess they gave everybody in Savannah the Heave Ho Monday, and they gave my buddy Callie, who worked under me here and in Savannah, they gave him the Heave Ho Monday. And I didn't know about any of this. I didn't know any of it was going on. And Tuesday morning I was doing the program, and he texted me and said he'd been let go, and he had the station vehicle, and he said he'd bring it back later today. And I was like, okay, that's fine. I thought it's odd. I wonder why they let him go. And then of course I found out they let everybody in Savannah go, and he's part of Brunswick and part of Savannah. And nobody said anything to me. So I thought, well, maybe I've made it through this one, but nobody else did. And that was kind of odd, but okay. Especially since I had, again, developed on my own the understanding of what they were going to ultimately try to do, which was, make every station exactly the same no matter what. And so I thought it was odd, but I thought at the same time, we have giant ratings and giant revenue, and therefore maybe that's what's bought us some more time. And then that afternoon, right before trivia, I had been taking a nap, and I woke up and realized that they had called me and left a message. And I was like, okay, well, called and left a message. Too late now. I'll get them tomorrow. So I got them the next day, and of course they didn't call me back. And so I reached out again about noon, and they, oh, we'll call you in just a minute. And they, when they called, it was we're here. I'm here with so and so, and I was like, okay, 2 people. That's the firing mode. That's an HR thing. If you don't know, you can't just fire somebody alone. You got to have somebody there with you as a witness for when the inevitable lawsuit comes, that you can prove that you said whatever, and So, thought that was bad. And then he said, as you know, we're restructuring the company in such a way as that we're going to make things smoother and sharper and, more responsive, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they said, unfortunately, this will impact your position. And for about half a second, I went, oh, great. That means they're going to put a lot more on my plate. I already got a ton on my plate. And then I realized, no, that meant there is no position. And they basically said, from this point, we will continue to pay you through June 30th, but you are relieved of your duties from this point forward. I was like, okay. All right. Well, that's that. And again, it was distressing for about half a second, but immediately my brain started going, well, that means I can do this and I can do that and I can do this and I can do this that I couldn't do before, and that I could do really for me and my benefit that I really didn't get to do before. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of a gut punch, but it was different. I'll just say that it wasn't the massive, sucker punch that you would think it would be. Okay. If we decide to do that, I'll make sure we have a conversation. No doubt. Link up with Ben. I don't know who Ben Crystal is, but okay. Who we got? Brad. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, Brad, you are quite entertaining. Now do it entertaining in a structure. That's what I was thinking when you decided not to go out to Jekyll and Fox and Friends was broadcasting. Your audience will be here, and corporate could care less. Yeah, the thing about when Fox and Friends was out there was no real way to be there for the audience. And I was invited to go out there. Roy Akins called me and invited me, actually. And I could have gone out there when they were doing that, but the reality was there was a broadcast going on, and it was Fox and Friends broadcast, and they were very much, it was, that space was their space. And so if I intruded or interfered on that space, then I was going to be pushed off to the side. So it wasn't really a situation where I'd be able to broadcast and be there for you guys. So I just kind of covered it while I was in the studio, and I did it that way. And yeah, there's a subtlety there that is sometimes missed at the corporate level. There's a subtlety there that was missed on my position at the corporate level. First, the amount of business I was personally bringing into the station. Secondly, the amount of sales I was personally making, the amount of revenue I was personally directly generating, was more than enough to cover my salary. And so, that's kind of the thing that was a little frustrating about the whole thing, is that, we were a net profit to these guys. And the entire 5-station cluster that I ran was a net profit to the company every single year. Even when, we had bad economic years, even COVID, we were still 6 figures profitable. When the entire economy contracted by 20-something%, we were still 6 figures profitable. So, very easy to make a hot take to grab the person's attention, then have loads of facts and opinions to grab people's attention. Yeah, but don't make a hot take just for the sake of making a hot take either. Don't make a hot take just for the sake of pushing buttons. Be better. Do better. What happens to football Friday night? It's a great question. The radio stations have a contract with the Glenn County School System to run football, Glenn Academy, Brunswick High, this fall. I don't think they understand that they have a contract, to be honest with you, because they let pretty much everybody go who has any understanding of that. So here and in Savannah. So that having been said, I don't know what happens to football Friday nights. If iHeart decides they don't want it, I'd like to find a way to do it. And I don't know what that way is yet. But I'd love to work out a way to do it. And I'd love to work out a way to sell sponsorships. And I'd love to work out a way to make it profitable to do it. In other words, worth our time and effort, not just a giveaway. And I think that can be done. But we have to wait and see, unfortunately. But I'd love to keep doing it. And if somebody else picks it up, I won't be restricted by iHeart. I will go be, if they want us. And, the reality is they may not want me. They may want G-Man. He is so good. I don't know that and I've told him this before, I don't know that he understands how good he is. His research, the study he does, the way in which he interprets things, his ability to analyze things it's kind of this weird next level Rain Man type ability in somebody who can speak articulately. He's really got a mountain of talent for this, no doubt. Debbie, much more time spent on ads, and over the years, the host talk time seems less and less. It's funny you mentioned that, Debbie, because one of the things we did this year, and I don't know if people even realize or understand it, but I had kind of the same feeling. I felt bad because the way the program was structured, and when we were picked up in Savannah, we were kind of forced by the program director up there to structure the program a certain way. There was a way he wanted it structured. And so we worked out kind of a deal so that we could satisfy everybody to a degree. But what wound up happening was that the back half of the hour was so deep in commercial breaks that I wasn't happy with it. Listeners weren't happy with it. Like a constant stream of, and it wasn't so much the minutes that we were on, it was just the way it was structured. It made it feel like there were a lot more commercials than there had been. There is research to back up the fact that it's not how long a commercial break is that bothers people in the audience. It's how many commercial breaks you take. And that's why when I first got into radio, there were 4 breaks an hour. There were like 4 3-minute breaks an hour. And the research had come in that, every time you stop playing music, or in our case, every time you stop doing talk, people tune away. Because it's the beginning of the commercial break that is the tune out. And when you have a lot of commercial breaks, that's a lot of beginnings and a lot of opportunities for people to tune out. So it became my mission late last year, and I had to fight to get this done. We changed the clocks on the show. And what I did, because they didn't want to lose any revenue time, is I made it so that each break was 1 minute longer, but we lost a break. I basically took a 5-minute break or 4-minute break. Yeah, it was a 4-minute. I took a 4-minute break, and I took those minutes and I dispersed them into 4 other breaks during the hour, and then just got rid of one of those breaks. And what it did was it really freed us up to have a lot more talk time. If you noticed, I hope you noticed. And also the other thing I did was I cut the network news short, because we were obligated to run. It's a 5-minute newscast, and we're obligated to run the first 3 minutes because the first 2 are the hard news, and then there's a minute of spots. And then the next 2 minutes are really what we would call very soft news. The Golden Globes were last week, last night, and, the entertainment's big, whatever. Not stuff that's really that interesting to a lot of people. Almost, you would say, filler. But the funny thing was, again, the program director up in Savannah, I had initially proposed cutting those 2 minutes out, and he's, no, but I really like that part. And I'm like, you're the only one, and you're not a typical. The thing was, he was a nice guy. He was a super nice guy. He's passed away since, but he was a liberal. He was not a talk radio listener. He's not a regular talk radio listener. He only listened when he had to listen to the program for, technical issues and that kind of thing. So what I did was when I had the opportunity to make those changes, I cut those 2 minutes out of the news. I gave 1 minute back to sales so they could have one of those minutes, and we took 1 minute for the show. So we actually had more talk time and longer breaks starting at the beginning of this year. And we did that because I had the same sense that it just felt like too many commercial breaks. But again, the research has shown it's not the length of the breaks, it's how many times you break away. And it really is. There's a mental thing about that. Sorry, let's go. Let's look through some of the rest of this. Coach Hidalgo would crush a sports show. He said, well, we've done a show with him for years. We've done a show with him for years on Sunday nights at Porch, and it is and he is very entertaining. He is very good, and he keeps going like that. He's Coach Rock is probably one of the most fun. I don't really want to do coaches shows, to be honest with you, but I know the school system wants them because they help promote the product. And radio wants them because they can help sell. But what I don't like about them is because, traditionally I've gotten up at 3:00 in the morning on weekdays and I have to be out late at night on a Sunday. And it's not my favorite thing to do, but Coach Rock makes it easy because he is fun. So let's see. Henry Ball said, I was hot and bothered for my new podcast at multiple meetings, including pitch, went to production team. 2 weeks later, we got a generic, thanks for calling. We're going in a different direction. Oh no, I didn't know that. iHeart was hot and bothered for it. iHeart did that to you. And see, that's dumb. That's another dumb thing on iHeart's part. Because the story that you have is a great story. Your ability to do this would have been fantastic. And they have put a lot of eggs in the podcast basket. There's no reason for them not to have done your podcast, Henry Ball. All right. When we build things up, we'll do that. Okay. Good morning, Scott. Why are you no longer on 97.7 in Savannah? Because, John, iHeart has gotten rid of all local programming in Savannah and Brunswick. And about 30, best I can tell. And when I say 30, that's not from a news report. That is me going over these lists that everybody's publishing of people who've been fired. And me going, okay, that's that town, that town, that town, that town, that. And it's about 30 towns where they're getting reports. Now, I will also tell you this. There are towns where they're not getting reports. Very few are publishing the Savannah news that Savannah's programming was gutted. And by gutted, I mean 100% completely eliminated. They're not carrying the news that my buddy Callie was cut. And that disappoints me because Callie is a very talented individual who works really hard. And I think, if they're going to make these lists of people that you should think about and pray for, Callie is one of those people. But, and my buddy Terrence in Macon, who I thought was going to move up the corporate ladder because he's just so good at what he does, he got let go. And I've not seen anybody report on that. So it's at least 30 towns where they just got rid of local programming. And one of their reasonings in the press release is so that our national sales team won't have to look up who's on the air. Oh no, they were having to look up who was on the air. That's so sad. But what that means, they won't have to look up who's on the air, is that everybody's going to get the same show everywhere. So good luck on that. But that's why I'm not on Savannah on 97.7, so I'm not on Brunswick at 98.7. Because they went through, it's a huge thing. With G-Man not doing any local, I don't know. I don't think there's any on GIG. I don't know what they're doing on the FMs. I can tell you that for years they were trying to make us outsource the news, and they have some nice people in Alabama that do regional news, but I just didn't. And they kept, we've got our guys here. We can take that over. We can take it away from you. You don't have to do it. We can make it easier for you. And I'd go, no. And the reason was because I know that they're good people and they could probably do a good job with the, in the parameters that they have. But there was no way they were going to be able to do good locally driven, on-time content. And so I never would accede to that. So I don't know where they are now. I really don't. Let's see, Brenda. And you know what? I appreciate every bit of that. I really do. Mitch needs a number. All right, Mitch. I'll do that. Let's see. There were more commercials streaming than the live radio version. There shouldn't have been. There should have been the same, but we'll see. Let's see. Find another station. And I appreciate that. And again, I think what we're going to do, I don't know this yet. I think I'm just going to own this and distribute it myself. I don't want to work for somebody else at this point. Let's see. Oof, man. Boy, a lot of people. They don't even realize they lost the greatest weatherman on the beat. Never have seen better hurricane live stream coverage. And somehow we ended up with a mascot. that's the thing too. When you talk about, one day they're going to cast you off to the side. The other thing you don't say is, yes, they're not going to care that you risked your life for them on several occasions, which we did. I mean, we didn't know what Matthew was going to bring, and I stayed behind for Matthew. I stayed behind for Irma. I rode around as Matthew was actually hitting us, as Matthew was making landfall. I rode around in the station vehicle and did live video. If you remember, that's where the mascot came from, as I hit a raccoon during the live stream, the Facebook Live of that, which sadly Facebook deleted last year as part of their purge of all old Facebook Lives, which is just a crime, because that thing had tens and tens and tens of thousands of views. I'll tell you a story. The day after that hurricane, the day after Matthew, I went down to the public safety complex where they were having a press conference, and Richard Strickland was the chairman of the commission at the time, and Richard Strickland and I get along great. In fact, he nominated me for the comprehensive plan committee. I forgot about that. He's the one. I was his representative on the comprehensive plan committee, which was an honor to do. That was a lot of work, but it was an honor to do. But anyway, Richard Strickland got up and he gave his press statement and everything that they were doing. And I looked up and I noticed that Matt Doring, who was the police chief at the time, was looking at me and smirking. And I didn't know why Matt Doring was looking at me and smirking. And you got to understand, the night that I had just lived through was me riding around doing the live stream, riding around the community, getting it all on video, seeing, what was happening to everything as the storm was there. And then when I went back to my house, there was no power and I needed to charge the phone because it was my only real link to the world at that point. So I slept in my driveway in my car from about, 3 or 4 in the morning till the sun came up. And then I went into my house and the shower and the hot water were still working. And I can't even tell you how amazing that was at that point. I had no light, but the shower and the hot water were working. I was great. So anyway, that morning I get cleaned up. I go down to the public safety complex. I'm live streaming the press conference, and I noticed Matt Doring is smirking at me. So afterwards I go to him and I, what's the deal? And he says, hey, you took care of that raccoon, didn't you? So what do you mean? He goes, oh, we were watching it in the, they have the Emergency Operations Center, the EOC. We were watching it in the EOC, and we backed that up and watched it over and over and over again. But then he said something else, which I thought was really cool. And that was, he thanked me for doing what I did because it let them know kind of where a lot of the trouble spots were, where some of the problems were, some of the things they were going to have to attack. And it kind of helped them formulate their game plan moving forward, which, one of the things I found, I was riding down the spur and I almost hit a giant tree that had fallen across the spur because it was so dark you couldn't see it. That was one of the first things they had to get rid of, was this giant tree that had fallen across the spur. So, those are the things that you do because you love doing this and because you love serving the community. And at some point, the giant corporate entity that owns you is not going to care that you did it. And that's the point we're at now. But yeah, and you know what though? With all of that having been said, I'd do it all over again. How's G-Man doing? He's fine. He's, again, he's got a real job. So he's good. And again, he's still technically employed. They haven't given him any kind of separation. I mean, they've given me verbal separation notice, but no paperwork. They haven't even given him a verbal separation notice. So technically he's, he could still go to work for him if they wanted him to. Well, we'll see. Local. Yes, absolutely, Debbie. Where are they now? Going down in flames. Not that they're going to realize it for. Yeah. Again, it's just, it's a bad thing. It's a bad idea, but they're doing it. And what are you going to do? Local radio necessary. I feel iHeart must. There were days when there were emails that I got that I would think the same thing. That some of the things they would, some of the very left-wing causes they would jump on. And I would just go, why is this happening? Why is this a thing? Well, I guess I'm going to need a new number as well. I was number 20. No, you stick around. Keep 120. I've got the same spreadsheet. iHeart doesn't get my spreadsheet. My South Georgia 40 spreadsheet is here. It's mine. It's intact. It's on my cloud. What day are we doing trick or treat? Yeah. I'll still keep you informed on that, no doubt. Love the 1980 Kenner Star Wars Hoth Ice Planet and others on that shelf top. Yeah, we the home base studio came about because this was my office and it was also a guest room. And at one point we had to convert it for permanent living for a relative. And it meant I had to pack everything I had in my office up. And it was just a mishmash office. And there are pictures of it out there. There are photos of it in the Florida Times Union because Mike Morrison came and did a story on me when The Force Awakens came out. And when the relative moved out, I said, all right, well, I guess I'll go get all my stuff out of storage. And Mrs. Rifen went, wait, whoa, hold on, stop, hang on a sec. No. I said, what do you mean? She said, you're not just going to have some jumbled up office that you kind of do things in. She said, I want you to do the room that you want. I want you to have the studio that you want to have. And I said, okay. And so that's why I have an RE20, because she bought me an RE20. I have a really nice desk here because she went and bought me a really nice desk. We worked together on what bookcases we wanted to put in here. And we ultimately chose the Billies. And once they're IKEA, they're Billies. And once we got all that in there, there was room on the top of these shelves to put things. And I said, you know what? I'm going to put things again, because the room is supposed to be a place that I'm comfortable in and that I want to be in. I started moving things out of the storage unit, things that were important to me, things that were historic to me. And so, yeah, a lot of the things out of my storage unit wound up there in the top row, including my old lunch boxes from when I was in school. And, you know, it's yeah, if you could take a tour of those things, I think some of you guys would really enjoy it. Some of you would absolutely not enjoy it. So I'm not going to waste your time there, but yeah, it's really neat. A lot of my collection has wound up there now because it's part of creating an environment where I want to be. What you don't get to see on the camera is my Ace Frehley guitar, my Tommy Thayer guitar, my Paul Stanley guitar, and they're all just hanging on the wall so that I can grab them and just start playing if I want to play. Again, it's kind of the way the room was designed. Was let's make it a room where I want to be, where I'm comfortable, where I can work and where I can play. And that's it. It's been that. It's been an amazing, amazing thing. Let's see. Absolutely, 100%. I appreciate that. No, Marty's replaced Marty's small transistor radio that's always in motion with her with a similar size device that picks up Facebook or YouTube. Cell phone will do it. But also, again, part of my aim is I know that we have some people who don't want to do internet stuff, and I want to be there for those guys as well. And so, you know, one of the things I do want to do is make sure that we have some kind of a radio presence, but I'm going to license it out. I'm not going to just give it away. Johnny, do you have an email address, a mailing address to share? If so, email me. Okay. Mailing address. Okay. Yeah, I will do that. Did I get the Rush picture? Oh yeah. Yeah. I got the Rush pictures as mine. That was a gift from Mrs. Rifen as well. She gave me that so that I could put it in the studio behind me at work. And I loved having it there. I love the picture. But yeah, that was a gift from Mrs. Rifen. You don't understand, again, when I talk about just like two people who are the best together, no offense to anybody who's got a happy relationship going on, I don't know that they made two people that were better for each other than us. I really don't know that there were any two people that were put together better than us. We're a perfectly made jigsaw puzzle. And, let's see. Susan, I can listen to you at work again. Well, yes. And, again, over time, this will get even better. Local newspapers have been replaced by news media that only covers national events and happenings. Sounds like that's what's happening in radio. Sad to see. It is what's happening in radio, and it is sad to see. And I'm not going to let it happen to what we do, because you guys deserve more. There's a thing, and anybody who's worked for me can tell you this. Beth Walters can tell you this. Callie Cole can tell you this. James Beerley can tell you this. Anthony A.C. Cuminto can tell you this. Corey Polubiak can tell you this. When we would have a situation where there was a hurricane or a tropical storm or the ice storm that came up, and we would always meet in that big conference room that we had at the station. And one of the first things I would always say to everyone is, and let me give this a little bit of a preface here. You know, part of your obligation as a broadcaster is to serve your community. That is part of, you know, you're given a license by the federal government to use the air to make money. The air. You get to use the air to make money. And the federal government will license your ability to use the air to make money. But it comes with a trade-off. And the trade-off is you have to serve your community that you're making money off of with that air. And so anytime we had a situation like that, I would always sit everybody down in that room, and because we would, you know, we'd have to game plan. We'd have to make sure everybody knew what their role was and what they were going to do and what we were all going to do as a whole. But I would always start it off by saying, this is our chance to do the reason why we do what we do. This is why we do what we do. And we get another chance to do it right now. And I just believe that strongly. And we're going to keep doing it that way. And I'm going to keep serving the community no matter what. And I'll serve you guys and I'll serve Savannah. And hey, if that guy in Valdosta wants to license out the show over there, we'll do that too. That's all there is to it. All right, guys, I was planning on going for about 30 minutes, and we've gone for over an hour. And so I appreciate your taking the time. We've lost almost nobody. That's the funny thing too. So I appreciate all of you being here. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this thing up now. Just because, I don't want you to get sick of me before I come back, but I appreciate all you guys tuning in, and we'll do this again just like this. You know, you guys can throw in comments and that kind of thing. I'm able to read them. I'm able to see them. I'm able to display them like that one right there. I appreciate all you guys being here. I will be here again tomorrow morning at 7:00, and we'll do this because I don't think this is harmful. I think this is a good thing for everybody. It's definitely good for me. And I think a lot of you guys will appreciate it as well. So we'll see you guys tomorrow, 7:00. Have fun. Have a great day. Don't worry about me. Things are going really, really well on this front. We'll see you. Be good.